What is seriously something that you need to deal with and work through, and what is something that is the universe kicking your butt for the fun of it? Hey there, and welcome to the Your Creative Mind podcast. I'm your host, Izolda Trakhtenberg. I really appreciate you taking time to listen. This is the beginning of 2026. Holy moly. Wow. This podcast, if you've been listening for a while, you know that this podcast changes just about every year. I've changed the name a bunch of times. I've changed the focus a bunch of times, and this isn't a bad thing because as I evolve as a person, I think the podcast is going to evolve as a show. And what does this mean? The interviews are going to move much more towards creatives, artists, musicians, writers, dancers, producers, directors, filmmakers, all of that. And then when they aren't that, I think they're going to be more about how we can be those things, how we can find our inner artists, how we can find that confidence to do the thing that we both want to do and need to do. And that's where I am right now. Hopefully you'll stay on this journey with me because I think it's important. I think right now more than ever, we need people who bring out their most radical creativity because things are challenging all over. There's no question. Anyway, so I've been doing a lot of thinking about all of this. And in fact, during the break, I went through and I updated a bunch of cards in the functional tarot and also in the human journey cards. And I created a whole new suit. I don't know if I talked about this on the show at all, but one of the things that I have been sort of thinking about a lot with respect to the cards, all tarot cards, it doesn't matter which deck, is that you can look at the swords as cutting through the BS. That's intelligence, reason, logic. You can look at the rods, as torches, as flames, as sort of being dynamic, taking action. The cups are the suit of water and intuition and emotion, your feelings, all of that. And then the coins are the suit of what you can touch. They're the tangible, the manifested, the physical, stability, foundation, being centered. And the major arcana are the things that happen to us rather than the things that we control, which is more the minors. Why am I talking about this? As you might know, I created the functional tarot, and it's not woo-woo at all. It is very practical. It's symbol interpretation and insight and intuition and all of that. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about that deck. And the human journey cards are even more so that way because I removed the count. There are no names like the Two of Cups. It's now attraction, or the Seven of Coins, which is now fruition, because that's the meaning of the card to me, the fundamental meaning. And one of the things that I kept being concerned about with every deck I looked at, and even the deck I created, was that there wasn't anything that was creative from within yourself. And to me, that creativity has a spiritual component. So what did I do? What did I decide to do with respect to my deck? If we look at earth as coins and air as swords and water as cups and fire as rods, in sort of looking at the ancient alchemical elements from thousands of years ago, there's also a fifth, and that was spirit. And to me, spirit represents that a universal connection, but also that which comes from within you and sometimes through you, and that is your creativity. And to me, creativity is about the voice. It's about your voice. It's about bringing your message, your point of view out into the world. And it doesn't mean singing, although there are singer cards in the new suit. But it's not just that. It's about what is it that tells your story. So I created the suit of voices, and the ace of voices, for example, is right before you speak. you breathe. So that's the first card. The Ace of Voices is about breath. And then the Two of Voices is about connection, communication, speaking. The Three of Voices is about expression, and that shows a woman in front of a microphone singing, and et cetera, et cetera. And the Four, actually, before we learn to listen, we often express, but the Four of Voices is about listening. It shows an older man sitting at the at the side of a waterfall, listening to the flow of water. And the five cards often tend to be a sort of conflict, so that's what the the Five of Voices is about: debate. It's about honest debate, and so on and so forth. And the last two cards, the Queen of Voices, for example, is a channel. She communicates through. And then the King of Voices is about the external expression, which is the orator, the speech maker. And for example, in the orator, he's not commanding, he's talking about peace. And so I really wanted to bring that forth in this deck. And so what I did on my Christmas vacation was to spend time creating this suit. I'd been thinking about it and planning it for months and months, and maybe even years. And then over this holiday season, I just went, okay, when I have some free time, I'm going to work on designing and creating these cards. And if I say so myself, they came out super cool. And then I went, there might be a way for me to update some of the cards that I really wanted to update. And for example, the Two of Coins is different now. And I've ordered a bunch of the new card decks. And if you're listening to this and you own the Functional Tarot and you want a new set of these cards, we're going to be able to get them for you. I'm very excited about that. And why am I talking about this? I'm talking about it because what I wanted to make sure that I did as part of this new year is I brought this deck further into this show, because it is in many ways the exact outcropping of my creative voice. It let me put symbolism and ideas into something tangible, which I, as a musician and a writer, I don't often have the opportunity to do, right? Most of the time, that stuff is ephemeral. It happens, certainly, and there might be a recording of it, but the process of actually making it is often, once it's written, you've written it, it's done. And you might be able to look at the book and read the book, but that process is only there through that. And the sort of two-dimensional representations of what I'm talking about aren't quite the same. So that's something I'm going to be delving into more. Also, this notion of what different kinds of arts represent. An ephemeral art, an auditory art, something that is fleeting versus something that you can look at hundreds and maybe even thousands of years later and keep learning from, keep getting something from. Because our psyches need stories, they need art, they need creativity, and they need some sort of guidance for that. So that's partially what's going on in this episode, is I'm sort of introducing a slightly different facet to this whole thing, to this podcast. But it's for now going to stay the Your Creative Mind podcast. It might change to the Are You Doing Your Best Right Now podcast. That's the thing that I've been asking myself a lot as every instant comes into fruition into my life. Every minute I'm starting to ask myself, with the choice you're making, are you doing your best right now? And I remember I was talking to someone once who's a therapist, and she said, well, at every moment we're all doing our best, and sometimes our best from the outside looks pretty crappy, but at that moment we're doing our best. And I couldn't help thinking to myself that I wanted to hold myself to a higher standard than, well, right now this crappy thing that I'm doing is the very best I can do. And I think if you can build the awareness that this crappy thing that you're doing right now is the very best that you can do better than that crappy thing. As soon as you build that awareness, you can make a different choice. And so that's what I ask myself all the time. Are you doing your best right now? And sometimes, yes, sitting and watching The West Wing, which is what I've been doing for the last few days. I've watched, I don't know how many episodes, but a number of episodes, because I needed to buoy myself up with the political climate being what it is. And so I've been watching Jed Bartlett be my president in the world of imagination. Anyway, and I want to talk about that. But one of the things that I've promised myself that I'm going to do with every episode is to give something to you. And that is I'm choosing a card. And it was supposed to be at the beginning of every episode. It's not at the beginning of this one because I was talking about the cards. But what does this mean? At the beginning of every episode, starting now, or starting few weeks ago, if you've been listening regularly, I'm going to choose a card from the Human Journey Method card deck, and I'm going to tell you what the card is for the week. And it's basically contemplate on the meaning of the card. And if I get my act together, I will take a picture of the card and put it in with the show notes so that you can see what I'm talking about instead of just listening. Hearing the story of the card is cool, absolutely, but sometimes seeing it, letting your brain see the actual symbols and react to them and respond to them is really important. So right now, I am shuffling the deck. I don't know if you can hear it when I'm shuffling the deck. And then I'm going to choose the card for the week for you to think about. And it's very random. I have no idea what I'm about to choose. This one feels good. Ooh, drama. So, yikes. I don't know if I've chosen this card recently, but it's a very melodramatic card. Shows a night scene with bare soil and some trees and a crescent moon. And there's a person and they're lying down and they have 10 swords stuck in their backs. Not a joyful card, but it's also not a realistic card. It's more the melodrama of things, that things feel really dramatic and really the energy of tension is just pervasive. And the thing about it is that one of the things that we forget about the sword suit is that it is the sword suit of thinking, of processing, of intelligence, of cutting through the BS. And so as soon as you see this card, the way to think about it is to go, okay, life is dramatic right now. And perhaps it's even diving into the melodramatic, and maybe that's not what I want. So can I stop and breathe and think and come to a place of lowering that drama? And there's that breathing technique. You inhale for 4, you hold your breath for 6, and then you exhale for 8, all through the nose. And just do that for maybe 5 or 6 cycles. Inhale for 4, hold your breath for 6, exhale for 8. And it'll calm you right down. So even if things feel really dramatic, really like, holy crap, everything's going to hell in a handbasket, one of the things that you can do for yourself is kind of go, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to get a clear head, or maybe make some space, get some distance, and look at things with a bird's eye view. Are things really as dramatic as I think they are? Or does it just feel that way right now? So that's what this drama card is all about. Sort of going, okay, I personally have decided that I want my drama on stage, on screen, and in books. That's it. If you're bringing me drama that isn't there, we're going to have a conversation, because I have decided that kind of whoa thing is just, I can't do anymore. So instead of getting mired in the muck, I am pretty consistently stepping back, going into that breathing exercise, pulling up and getting a bird's eye view and going, is this really as bad as I think it is? And certainly I haven't talked about this on the show because it happened a few weeks ago. But I got to tell you that Rob Reiner's death, Rob and his wife, their deaths just, they mucked me up some. I respect Rob's work so much, and I don't think I've talked about this on this show, but back in 1988, a long time ago, when I first graduated college, or somewhere I graduated college, American Express sent me this thing where they're like, you can go anywhere you want, the contiguous 48 United States. Basically, for $300, we'll get you a hotel room, we'll get you the plane ticket, and it's our way of saying, yay, you graduated, go you. So I did. For $300, I got like 3 nights and a plane ticket. And I had to pay for the food or whatever, but I was there. And I went by myself. And it was really interesting. At that point, I was seeing someone. I went without him, and it sort of started thinking about, okay, I'm a little bit happier without him than I am with him. So that sort of started thinking me about whether or not I wanted to remain in this relationship. And but I also was alone in a city that's full of very vibrant people. I was by myself, and I started feeling pretty lonely and isolated. And then on top of that, this was August of 1988, and an earthquake happened then. It wasn't the really bad one of 1989 the following year, but it was still like a 5.4 or something on the Richter scale. So yikes. Anyway, the next morning, I felt it. It happened at night. I felt it. I woke up. I noticed that it was happening. Everything stopped shaking. Nothing where I was, nothing even fell over. Went back to sleep. But it was still kind of jarring. You're still kind of going, holy crap. But anyway, that day, I spent sort of walking around Haight-Ashbury, and I think I even went to the park, Golden Gate Park. I don't even remember. But as I mentioned, I was feeling pretty lonely. And this was when I was still kind of shy about meeting new people. Now I'm a chatty Cathy. I'll talk to anybody at any time and have a grand time doing it. But back then at 21, I was still a little freaked out about that. Why am I talking about this? Well, I was feeling lonely, and I think I was in the Castro wandering, and there was a theater that was playing a double feature, and the double feature was The Princess Bride and When Harry Met Sally. And I went, oh, I've been meaning to see The Princess Bride. Sure, why not? And I went in and I watched those two movies back to back. I honestly didn't realize at the time that Rob Reiner directed both. And I wasn't even really paying attention to directors at that point. But I got to tell you, I saw both movies and just fell completely head over heels in love with both of them. They're in the top 5 movies of my life. Those are both in the top 5. With Princess Bride probably being a perfect movie to me. Anyway, so they made me feel like I wasn't alone. That's what Rob Reiner's gift was. He made you feel like those characters knew you and you knew them. And even the fantastical ROUSs and all of the other weirdness, delightful weirdness that takes place in Princess Bride, I felt like it spoke directly to my soul and my heart. And so him and his wife being murdered, it just knocked me on my butt for a while. And that going back to being creative is really what brings me out of it. It's what makes me go, oh yeah. Whew. And so that's kind of where I am with drama. The sorrow of over their deaths is, I was never going to meet them. I was never going to talk to them, probably, even though I'm sort of tangentially in the same industry. But knowing that I never will now it hurts my heart. And so I went back to the cards, and I sort of started thinking about contemplating what it means, really thinking about what it means to lose a hero. And that's sort of what the deck allows you to do. It kind of allows you to go, okay, let me think about what I'm seeing. Let me take it in. Let me feel the feelings, but not let them overwhelm me, because that's the problem with some of these feelings, is that they end up overwhelming us, and then we don't know what to do, right? Then we're in this place of, how do I hold all of this? And my way of doing it is to let it flow through me, feel it and flow through me. And here's another thing that happened. Their bodies were found Sunday. On Tuesday, somebody broke into our savings account and pretty much stole everything in it. And you want to talk shock and surprise? That was, what do I do now? And this is a bit of advice from me to you. Check your balances. If you do electronic banking, check your balances every few days. Make sure that nothing weird is going on. Because I did that. I went in and I went, wait a minute. why is so much money missing from there's what is going on? And I went back and looked at previous transactions to go, did either one of us remove money for something? Like, what is happening? And I saw 2 micro deposits and 1 micro withdrawal. And then I saw the big withdrawal going to a Vanguard account that isn't ours. And I was going, what is happening? Now, what are those micro deposits? Micro deposits are, and I'm not an accountant, and I'm just talking about being a good steward of your money. And the micro deposits, when you connect an account like a Vanguard account, or even to pay your bills, sometimes what they'll do is, to make sure that they're connected to the correct account, that institution, whatever it is, will put in a couple of little deposits like 23 cents and 54 cents or whatever. And then you have to go in and say, yes, I got a 23-cent deposit and a 54-cent deposit. And once you've done that, they withdraw the full amount of the 77 cents or whatever, because it's just their way of establishing that link. Anyway, so I saw these 2 micro deposits and the micro withdrawal, but the bank never notified me that anything was going on, that I had deposits to deal, nothing. And they didn't notify me about any withdrawals. So this was not my fault. And somebody got in, they made the micro deposits, made the micro withdrawal, connected the account, and basically zeroed out our life savings. And I caught it within a couple of days of it happening. And it was freaky that they can just do that. They can get in. And I worked with the inspectors at the bank, and they were great. And by that evening, all the money was back, because it was not us who did it. And they investigated, and they can investigate how many times someone has tried to get into your account. They couldn't figure out exactly what happened, but they were able to figure out that the money was removed without our permission, that we didn't do it, and they were able to put the money right back. But drama, right? So I'm not at all surprised that this drama card showed up this week. I had contemplating on what is seriously something that you need to deal with and work through, and what is something that is the universe kicking your butt for the fun of it. So that's kind of what I'm going to ask you to contemplate this week, is what is it that actually is stuff you need to be dealing with, and what is it that is just melodrama that you don't have to be involved with. I have started really removing myself from that drama, because it takes away from my energy to create the things that I want to create, like extending the deck, which, by the way, now is a little bit harder to hold in my hand, because now there are, let's see, there were how many? 84 cards, and now there are 98 cards, because there's an additional 14 cards in each thing, and I have small hands. But I gotta tell you, it's really very interesting to look at the cards themselves and go, this feels right. Finally, the deck feels complete, and I'm thrilled to pieces that it does. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about how this is going to go. And I'm sorry this episode meandered a little, but I think that it's important to sort of, as you grow, let the creative things that you're doing grow with you. As you evolve, let your art evolve. That's so important, don't you think? All right, because I'll just talk about this. Your creative output, your art, your music, your writing, your everything should evolve. You should look at what you did 10 years ago and go, oh, I've grown a lot since then. When I look at the things I wrote 10, 12 years ago, I go, yeah, I have grown as a writer, which thank goodness, right? I even looking at the deck and going, what, the things that I created with this, the tower, very different now, and I can't wait for you to see it. It is a very different card than it was. I mean, the symbols are still the same, but we're going to call it the production quality is very different. And I'm very excited about that. Anyway, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this week's card, Drama. Only have it on stage, screen, or in books. Very important. I don't want drama any other place. Well, maybe I'm looking at a picture right now on my monitor of the eclipse from a few years ago, the eclipse that the sun rose while it was being eclipsed by the moon. And a friend of mine, John, and I went to the ocean at Sandy Hook Beach in New Jersey. And we got up with the dawn, or right before dawn, and got to the ocean and took a picture of the sun rising as a crescent. It looks like a moon, but it's not. It's the sun being eclipsed by the moon as it rises over the horizon, over the ocean. And in front of that sun, playing in the sort of the track of the sun as it rises, is a dolphin. And if that's not dramatic, I don't know what it is. It's gorgeous, and I'm so honored that I was able to capture that, because it was a brilliant moment, and it was very dramatic. So that kind of drama, so on stage, on screen, in books, and on film, I don't know. But yeah, so important. Anyway, this is Izolda Trakhtenberg for the Your Creative Mind podcast. Yes, things are going to keep changing, and if you stick with me, that would be terrific. More and more, it's just going to be finding that creativity and talking to people who are creative. And pretty much that's it. No more salespeople, no more marketing people. I'm probably going to talk a little bit about marketing, mainly because I am currently the president of the New York Tri-State chapter of Sisters in Crime, which is an organization that was started to elevate women crime writers. We have people who are non-binary, we have men, we have all sorts of members, but this chapter is designed to help the people who belong to it in the New York tri-state area, so New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, elevate their skills as writers, but also as marketers of their work. I gotta tell you, marketing your stuff is important, because more and more authors are supposed to do it for themselves, even if they're signed to traditional publishers. So I've been creating a bunch of stuff for them, and over this year, I'm going to be releasing some of that to you. If you listen and you want to do more with marketing your own creative work, it's going to be out there. It's going to be for writers, but it could be applied to, two-dimensional fine artists, to musicians, to all sorts of stuff. Anyway, all right. I've talked your ear off long enough. I hope this was a fun episode for you. I'm Izolda Trakhtenberg for the Your Creative Mind podcast, reminding you, as always, to be curious, be creative, and most of all, be kind. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're new, and it would mean the world to me if you told a friend about it. Today's episode was produced by Izolda Trakhtenberg and is copyright 2025. As always, please remember this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, although we can always hope.